You're probably right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we do upload daily PvP content, so please consider subscribing to the channel if that is of interest to you. And if you're a returning subscriber like Richard Liu, thank you for the support. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at my Ultra League team that I have been using and have actually got into the top 100 on the leaderboard with. Very excited to share this team with you guys. Basically, this team consists of Giratina Altered Forme in the lead and the double ice strategy in the back of Articuno and Lapras. Now, the only other person I've seen running this team is actually Arrow, who is also a Twitch streamer and a very good battler, and he's running Articuno Lapras in the back with Swampert Lead. So basically the same team that he was running last season and also the same team I was running last season. But this season I actually wanted to continue using Articuno and Lapras, but I wanted a new lead. The 4 Pokemon I'm seeing the most in Ultra League this season have been Escavalier, Melmetal, Cresselia, and Giratina. Those have been the 4 most common lead Pokemon I've been seeing. I was thinking, is there one Pokemon who has a pretty good matchup with all 4 of them? And the answer was Giratina Altered. And as you could see, we did have some very good sets the past 7 days. I've been going positive pretty much every single day, and the more comfortable I got with this team, the better the sets had been going as the days progressed. So I think one of the more important things to note right away is that this team is very weak to steel, and part of having the double ice is to actually bait out the steel type. So if I'm not in a very dominant lead, for example, I would consider Giratina into Escavalier a very dominant lead for me, but if I have a lead like Giratina into Cresselia, I would consider that not so dominant, of course, because Cresselia could still win that. Obviously we can win if we use shields, but it's not a dominant lead. So what I would do in this situation is bring out the ice type in order to lure out the steel type if they have one, and get it out of the way right there. So once they beat the Lapras, I can then come back with the Giratina, get rid of the steel type, and they'll likely bring in either Cresselia or another counter for Giratina, at which point I bring out the second ice type. So I know this video is a lot longer than my typical videos, so I appreciate all of you for bearing through the video and watching even a few minutes of it, so thank you very much for that. If you guys have any other questions about the team, definitely leave them in the comments. I'm going to be answering every single one of them. Feel free to ask anything you'd like, and let's get right into the battles. So I'm going to have timestamps for each type of lead in the video. I'm going to start off with Escavalier here against Jetson 1 in the first matchup, and you could see very good matchup for us, so he switches out into Clefable. I'm going to bring in Lapras here to counter the Clefable, and basically I'm going to shield the first move. Don't want to get hit by the Meteor Mash and build up for 2 Surfs, and now I'm going to throw them back to back, and let's see if the opponent's going to choose to shield here. A lot of times they'll let it go through and just bring back in the Escavalier and look to farm down the Lapras. So let's see if that's what this opponent has in mind here. Now if they are running something that's weak to ice, they're probably pretty confident that once they get rid of this Lapras, there will no longer be that ice threat in the back. That's where the double ice comes in handy. So here we're fortunate enough to get the second Surf, and we actually get to another one. So this Escavalier is going to have to either shield or be very low. Chooses to let it go through, so he's saving those 2 shields for whatever his third Pokemon is, and leaving all his confidence in that third Pokemon. Bringing Giratina, who's going to tank all of these hits. He actually switched on to Togekiss, so this is where the trap works at its finest. We bring in Articuno. Even though we're down a shield, Articuno wins this matchup, and we're going to throw the Icy one here, debuff the charm damage, and that's going to give us the advantage in this match. Now he throws Ancient Power, and as you can see here, he gets the boost. So that's going to flip this match now, because I am going to debuff him once more, but at this point he's actually going to be able to outpace me with Charm to feint me before I could feint him with Ice Shard. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. My Giratina still has a lot of health. And since he's so low, I figured Dragon Claw will be enough to KO here. But he gets a second boost. So now Dragon Claw's not enough and we CMP tied. So I already clicked it. I couldn't change the Shadow Sneak. Look at how much those charms do. He ends up taking the match. So that's one way you're going to lose with this team. Facing a double boost. Nothing you can do. Let's take another look at an Escavalier matchup. You can see they switch out this time. It's a Snorlax. Gonna bring in the Lapras again. And Snorlax does have the potential to run Superpower, but most people aren't going to throw the superpower right away because it's going to debuff them. So they might throw 1 or 2 body slams before the superpower if they have it. So I go for Ice Beam here just because it's doing a bit more damage than Surf. I believe the energy efficiency is more or less the same, but if you can land the first Ice Beam, it definitely helps. So he hits the body slam again, gonna let that go through. Gonna throw this Surf, and he shields. Now when he shields, it gets me to believe that he's probably looking to throw a superpower, so I use a shield of my own here. And it's just another body slam. Gonna get to the Surf though, and let's see if he chooses to burn the second shield. He does. So at this point, I'm gonna match shields because I know if I do this, I'll get to the Surf and we'll maintain switch advantage. So very curious as to what he has in the back. Maybe he doesn't want to see Lapras. He actually switches out into Escavalier, so he's gonna get hit by this Surf, and now he's switch locked into this match. So I'm just gonna bring back in Giratina here, throw 1 Shadow Sneak, and then I would imagine I'd probably look to farm down from this point and have energy for whatever he has left in the back. So the Escavalier is gonna throw a couple of drill runs here. You can see Giratina's super tanky. We're actually able to farm down before you get to another one, so this is really good for us. Brings in Lapras. I threw Shadow Sneak blindly here, just assuming that would do more damage to whatever came in. Happened to be Lapras, so Dragon Claw is definitely better. So now we're going for Dragon Claw. And Dragon Claw is going to do the same amount of damage as Shadow Sneak, except it's going to be more energy efficient. So just going straight Dragon Claws here. And you can see we're chunking away at this Lapras still. Shields are down. And we have Articuno. So I believe what I tried to do here was actually bring in the Articuno and then immediately switch onto Lapras, hoping he would throw, but he didn't. But now he throws anyways because you can't really farm down with Ice Shard on a Lapras. So he brings in Snorlax to farm down before I could throw that Surf. But at this point, the Lapras is so low that even though this is a very bad matchup for Articuno, we're going to be able to win because we just have to hit 1 Ancient Power and it will be enough to knock out the Lapras here. So you can see there we get the boost. We always get the boost when it's not necessary. Rankar 007 in the next matchup. And I've been facing a lot of these opponents pretty much every single day now because it's more or less the same people that you start battling every single day this high up in the rating. So again, Escavalier Lead, another Snorlax. This seems to be a very common pairing with Escavalier from what I've seen. So we're pretty much playing out the same way. Sometimes I build up for 2 Surfs and just throw those back to back. Sometimes I throw Ice Beam. I like to change up the play sometimes just to keep it like not too predictable. So you can see here I'm actually going for Surf instead, and we do get the shield that time. And we're going to throw a second Surf. And what I've noticed from battling this particular opponent actually was that he does often shield the first one. So I tend not to throw Ice Beam against this particular player. And now he throws another Body Slam. I'm going to throw the Surf here. And he uses another shield. So you can see a lot of people actually choose to burn both shields on the Snorlax here. And basically take this matchup into the 0 shield scenario. So we are going to get the Surf. He actually switched on to Lapras, so a very good play on his part. And I don't really have a counter here for Lapras, so this isn't the best scenario for us, obviously. And Surf's going to come through. It's going to knock us out. So I know he has a Escavalier at the front. He has a very low Snorlax, so I choose to bring in the Articuno here. And if he switches on to Escavalier, I'll just switch back into the Giratina. Throwing the Ancient Powers here, hoping to get a boost, but we don't get it. So Surf comes through. Ice Beam is going to do more damage, but I believe the energy efficiency is pretty much the same. He switches on to Snorlax, so I actually bring in the Giratina here. And now, that was a good switch on his part, because now he's basically switch locked my Giratina into his Lapras. But I could just spam Dragon Claws here, and this isn't the worst scenario for us to be in. Ice Beam comes through, you can see that hurts. And I throw Shadow Sneak here, definitely a mistake. This was probably one of the first matches I was playing with this team, but you definitely want to go Dragon Claw, or I just wasn't thinking at the time because I'm going Dragon Claw now. So it was probably just a mistake on my part, but definitely want to go for Dragon Claw against Lapras. Escavalier comes back in, gonna throw the Shadow Sneak here. And this is going to be a very tight match, so I switch out into the Articuno just to ensure that I get off this Ice Beam before he throws, and so that he's not able to farm me down. You can see the switch timers coming up because there was 2 Laprases in this battle. So Mega Horn comes through. We're going to build enough for the Icy win. Throw that here at the Escavalier and we're going to take this match. So next matchup against Cresselia, and I believe now we're heading into the Togekiss lead matches. So obviously Togekiss, very hard counter for Giratina. Gonna switch into Lapras right away. We're met by an Escavalier. Escavalier is not the hardest counter for Lapras, so sometimes I will let the first one go through, but most of the time I'm gonna shield if I haven't thrown a Surf yet, and then look to throw back to back. And if they look to actually commit to a farm down, I should be able to get to a third Surf. So let's see how this opponent plays it out. They're just gonna throw the drill run now actually. So I'm actually gonna choose to shield this and see if they want to shield again or give up switch. So I'm gonna throw the Surf here. I don't think this will actually KO, but it'll put it extremely low. Might have KO'd actually. I'm gonna switch out into Articuno, and he brings in a Snorlax here. Now I know he can't bring the Togekiss obviously, so he probably doesn't have another hard counter for Articuno because he would have probably brought it out for the Lapras. So I decided to bring an Articuno now. Happens to be a Snorlax in the back. Was kind of hoping it was a Giratina, but Snorlax is fine. Gonna throw the Icy in here, and obviously debuffing these licks is definitely gonna benefit us. And if I could bring this down and feint it before he can knock me out, he actually goes for superpower. That's going to debuff him more. And at this point, because his attack's also debuffed, I should be able to survive this and actually commit to the farm down if I want. But I knew he was going to switch, so I brought in the Lapras to take this drill run. And I think that was huge for us because now I could bring in the Giratina, farm down this Escavalier, and then I'll be able to throw back-to-back Shadow Sneaks at the Togekiss. And we have an Icy Wind more or less ready on the Articuno. So let's see how the opponent's going to play this out. Brings in the Togekiss, which makes sense. Gonna throw this Shadow Sneak. And I'm going to look to throw this second Shadow Sneak. And my switch timer should be up as soon as I throw this. So I'm going to look to switch into the Articuno right here. Throw the Icy Wind. This will knock out the Togekiss. And now the Snorlax comes in. Barely has any health, so we get to the Icy Wind. And this will be enough to take it out. And we win that game against a very tough lead in Togekiss. So next matchup here, another Togekiss lead. And I'm going to do the same thing, switch into Lapras here. Opponent brings in a Poliwrath. So this is pretty much one of the hardest counters to this team will run into. Obviously Togekiss lead is already bad enough, but when they have the Poliwrath, there's literally no safe switch here. You're basically just hard countered, and there isn't really anything I could do. You would want to go for Ice Beam here with the Lapras because that's going to be doing more damage. So I'm going to bring in the Giratina here. At this point I'm trying to think of what my play is really, because I know that he has that Togekiss, so I was thinking like maybe I have to try commit to a farm now, but then he has a Snorlax as well. So like this team just completely counters us, and there's literally nothing I can really do in this situation. So sometimes that's going to happen, you're just going to run, and he has Heavy Slam too on the Snorlax. So this was literally the hard counter of all hard counters for this team. And that's going to happen sometimes. You're going to run into a team that just completely owns your soul, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So he's going to throw again. There's literally nothing I can do at this point. Chose not to shield that because it was debuffed. Poliwrath comes back in. Try to get off this Dragon Claw here. I mean, there really isn't too much I could do here. And Togekiss comes in. Gonna throw some Shadow Sneaks. But we're gonna get farmed down here with Charm. He has 2 shields still, so literally nothing we could do. At this point, I may as well just let the Articuno go down because I'm wasting both of our time. He gets the boost on top of it. So just for some overkill, opponent gets the boost there. Just to really solidify how dominant of a win this was for them. We lose that game pretty hard. Chemisterius in the next match. I believe this is now Lapras leads. Yeah, so this is a Lapras lead. Obviously very difficult. Not only for Giratina, but for the whole team pretty much, because I have no real hard counter for Lapras. So in this particular situation, I'm choosing to throw the Dragon Claw first. And I was trying to switch out and have the Ice Beam land onto my Lapras. So obviously I failed at doing that. He brings in Swampert though. So this is actually very playable for us. He has a lot of energy on that Lapras, but if I could win this match right here, we should be good. So Swampert comes in. Don't want to get hit by Earthquake, so I choose to shield. It happens to be a Hydro Cannon, but that's totally fine because we could still survive one Earthquake. So I throw the Surf here. It doesn't shield. So I was hoping this is just a Hydro Cannon, but most likely it's going to be an Earthquake, but... Oh, it is a Hydro Cannon. Okay, wow. So that was pretty much best case scenario for us. He brings in a Escavalier now, and we're in a pretty decent spot at this point. I don't really want to switch out into the Giratina at this point because the Lapras will come in. I'll be switch locked into that. So I'd rather just let this Escavalier come in. And Giratina comes in. Now he brings the Lapras. Obviously has Ice Beam ready. So I'm actually going to choose to let this go. And I'm going to throw the Dragon Claw. I just want to get this Lapras as low as possible because I think Articuno could put in work here. So we bring in Articuno. And Ice Beam comes through. Does quite a bit of damage still. Need to get off this Ancient Power here. This is going to be a very close match. But getting this Lapras as low as we were able to with the Giratina definitely had put this matchup a little bit in our favor. So I'm going to throw the Icy Wind here, debuff the attack on the Escavalier. And Articuno actually does not need Hurricane to beat Escavalier. You could beat it with Icy Wind. So it's not necessarily too important for this matchup, but it definitely plays a huge role in the match with the Poliwrath and whatnot. That's when you want Hurricane. So we come back in with Giratina, farm down, take that match. Snoopy Connie up next. Another Lapras lead. So I'm going to do the same thing. This time I switch into Articuno. And they're going to throw Surf at us. So when I bring in the Articuno here, I'm basically sacking it because Articuno does not win this match unless I get the boost. And after this Articuno goes down, I assume I'm going to bring in the Lapras at that point. So let's see what happens here. I am going to get the Lapras very low though, which is good for us. And often what I find too is that people who lead Lapras often do not have a very hard counter for Lapras in the back unless they're running like Registeel, which I guess is a possibility. But from my experience, from what I've seen, a lot of people who run Lapras don't tend to have counters for an opposing Lapras in the back. So, like me for example, I don't have a counter for Lapras and I'm running Lapras. So, don't know if that's like a trend or something, but that's what I seem to see a lot of. And we're going to throw a Surf at this Lapras here. I believe this opponent actually has a very hard counter team to us, if I remember correctly, because we got blown out in this match. Brings in Giratina. Okay, was it this match then? Maybe it was a different match. I don't know, we'll see. They throw the Dragon Claw. And I'm throwing Surf here because they have 2 shields, so I assume it's almost a guarantee they're going to shield. They don't. They don't shield, so I'm like, damn it. Like, that would have been huge if I landed the Ice Beam. Because look what they have. They have a Togekiss. So had I just thrown the Ice Beam at that Giratina, we would have gotten it out of the way. And I could have pretty much handled this Togekiss with the Shadow Sneaks. And then we have the Lapras in the back that could have easily farmed down here. We have a shield. I guess it would still be very close. But we had Surf ready too, so... Yeah, I didn't want to click the Surf, that's why I was under tapping, but I mean, it's solo that even if I don't put any bubbles, it's gonna lose. And this opponent's actually gonna beat us with 2 shields. So, yeah, that was not well played at all on our end. So you can see 2 very different Lapras matches there. Lapras is very difficult lead, of course, to deal with because we have no real counter for it on this team. So that's one of the weaknesses here. Now we're facing Articuno leads. This opponent is going to stay in here, allow me to throw this Ancient Power. Even though this is debuffed, it's still going to do quite a bit of damage, as you can see. Now they're switching on into Machamp. I'm going to look to debuff it with the Icy Wind. And this is good that we baited out Machamp because now I can line it up with the Giratina as opposed to having it on the Lapras. So Cross Chop comes through. Gonna get an extra counter in there as a result. And we bring in Giratina. I'm okay taking anything this Machamp throws because it's debuffed. So Rock Slide's not doing anything. I was considering going for a very aggressive farm down, but then I figured I don't want him to switch timer to come up and he switches out and then the champ's still alive. So I just threw the Dragon Claw, and as you can see, it did switch out. Throw the Dragon Claw here. He switch locked into Articuno, so I'm going to bring in the Lapras now. The Machamp is very low, so I don't have to worry about it too much. Icy Wind comes through here. I'm going to throw the Surf. And after I throw this Surf, I'm going to look to farm down. Icy Wind comes, so we're double debuffed now. And I would assume Machamp comes in. I'm going to throw the Surf just because I want to get rid of Machamp. And let's see what their last Pokemon is. It's an Obstagoon, okay. So I'm going to throw... Am I going to throw the Surf? I think I should shield here and switch out into Giratina at this point. Because this Surf is very debuffed. I think this is a mistake. But, okay. And I'm actually choosing to stay in here. So it looks like I'm just trying to get this Obstagoon as low as possible. And then bring in the Giratina. I think I could have played this a little bit differently. But let's see how this plays out. So now I bring in the Giratina, and this Obstagoon is actually so low to the point now where I could win this with Giratina. I just have to hit 2 Dragon Claws. So we get the first Dragon, that gets the shield. And we still have one more shield. Obviously he needs to hit Night Slash to beat us because counter is not going to do anything. So it's pretty much a race as to who's going to get to the next charge move. He throws the Night Slash here. I'm going to shield this up. And we should be able to beat him to the next charge move, or the timer will run out. And we have 2 Pokemon versus 1. But Dragon Claw is enough to KO the Obstagoon. We take that match. ADG 17. This is another Articuno lead here. So this time I'm going to switch into Articuno again. Okay. So it seems like when I face an opposing Articuno lead, I switch right into Articuno. This could backfire if they bring in a Registeel, which, as you see, is the case here. Now this looks like a very horrible situation because I can't do any damage at all to this Registeel. But the one thing I can do at least is debuff the attack on the Registeel to the point where my Giratina comes back in and has a very good matchup because the Flash Cannons won't be doing anything to it. So we actually get to a 3rd Icy Wind here, which is pretty insane. And I would expect the Registeel to farm down now. But even with this farm down, if he's going to throw the energy at the Giratina, it's not going to do anything. So you could see here, he's going to throw a Flash Cannon. Look at how much this does. Literally does nothing. So he switches out into Giratina. Here comes the Double Ice Trap. Lapras comes in. They are very likely to assume that once the Articuno's gone, I have no other hard counter for Giratina. But we got 2. So Giratina is going to throw the Shadow Sneak here. And we're going to go straight for the Ice Beam. Apparently nobody shields their Giratinas on Lapras, so just go Ice Beam every time. And commit to a farm down here. If we get hit by a Dragon Claw, that's okay. And now we have energy ready. Would expect Articuno to come back in. No, he brings in Registeel. So I'm going to throw this Surf. He gets the shield. I'm going to switch into Giratina. Articuno is going to come out here. So I switch locked myself into this match. But I'm hoping I can get off 2 Dragon Claws before the Articuno could throw an Icy Wind. And then I have 2 shields still. So this actually isn't too bad of a match. Obviously my attack's going to be debuffed. But I just shield this up here. And I believe the Registeel in the back has energy. So I have to save that last shield for the Lapras. Because that Lapras is basically my win condition at this point. So I'm going to let this go through here. And I'm going to have to shield up this Flash Cannon and pray that I could get to 2 Surfs here before it gets to another Flash Cannon, which will be enough to knock out the Registeel. So this is the first Surf here. And this second Surf, I threw this because I saw the switch timer was coming up. Not the switch timer, the game timer. And the Articuno comes back in. It was basically a race to the charge move, but we timed out. And I believe that match actually ended in a draw. So you can see 2 Articuno leads, very hard match, but still playable with this team. Giratina Origin here. I'm going to switch out into Lapras. We bait out the Obstagoon. They're going to throw Night Slash. Building up for 2 Surfs here. Going to throw them back to back. Let's see if the opponent chooses to burn any shields. They do not. And they can't really counter down here. So I'm going to choose to shield this one up, thinking I could get to another surf here. And we are able to, so this is going to apply some shield pressure. They want to maintain switch, they need to shield. They're going to throw another Night Slash here. Let's see if I choose to shield this. No, I choose to let it go. Okay. And I bring in Giratina. And I'm going to throw the Dragon Claw because I didn't want to get hit by an unnecessary Night Slash. So that knocks out the Obstagoon. Would expect Giratina to come back in, so I bring in the Articuno here. And they're staying in this match. So I choose to shield this, thinking the Shadow Ball is probably the move that's going to do the most damage. But he baited us. So now he brings in Togekiss. So you can see his team is double weak to Ice. And I'm going to get to another Icy Wind here. So now this Togekiss is double debuffed. And they're going to shield this one up because they want to get off this Ancient Power. But it's double debuffed, so this definitely is not going to knock us out. And now we're going to get off a bit of Ice moves. Nope, we're going to Switch Timer came up. So actually switching here is very important because we don't want that Giratina to farm us down. Hit the Dragon Claw. Shadow Ball in this range is not going to knock us out. So we're going to take that, and we're actually able to farm down before the opponent could farm us. So that's a Giratina Origin lead. Here is another Giratina Origin. Giratina Origin is supposed to be our Giratina Altered. So again, I switch on to Lapras. This time we see the Registeel. So this is what you always want to do. You want to bait out this Registeel. And you can either let this go or you could shield. My logic behind shielding here is that he has to pretty much land Focus Blast to knock us out, and it requires more energy. So by making him have to throw another Focus Blast, I'm actually making him have to spend more energy because it takes longer to get to, and that's going to allow me to get off a few more surfs, which is going to get his Registeel very low. And you can see here, this Focus Blast won't KO us, and I'll be able to get to one more surf after this, which is going to force him to use a shield. So we're going to be even in shields, and his Registeel is going to be extremely low in health. And he actually chose not to shield, so I maintain switch, brings in Giratina. I'm totally fine with this because the biggest threat for Registeel is now gone. I have switch advantage, so I could just bring in the Articuno here. I'm going to throw Icy Wind at this Cresselia to lower its attack. And then I'm going to bring in the Giratina here. Now we are down a shield, so this isn't too optimal. But hopefully if we don't get an attack fall from this Moonblast, we should be okay. Gonna throw the Shadow Sneaks here. And this Cresselia is gonna let that first one go through. At this point, I'm expecting they're gonna have to use their shield at some point, so I threw Dragon Claw here as a bait, expecting the shield to come up, and it did. Another Moonblast is gonna come through here. I'm gonna let this go through. And I should be able to get to one more Shadow Sneak, but he actually switches out. So this isn't too optimal for us. Gonna hit us with the Ominous Wind. Probably fishing for the boost there. And I'm gonna throw the Icy Wind here. Let's see if he's going to choose to shield. He does. So when he shields, it kind of tells me he's gonna throw Shadow Ball, but there's also a possibility he might not have gotten to Shadow Ball, so I chose to let it go through. It's totally fine because now I'm gonna throw this Icy Wind at the Cresselia. I have a shield still for whatever it's gonna throw at me, and I should be able to beat it to the next Icy Wind after shielding here. So we're gonna shield this up, and Icy Wind will be enough to knock out the Cresselia. So that's another win against Giratina Origin. Not an easy match, of course. And let's move into the next matchup. So I believe these now are the Giratina Altered Mirror matches. And what you're going to see here in the Giratina Altered Mirror match is that I always give up switch because I have to bait out the Steel type. Obviously, I could stay in and play out the mirror and maybe even sometimes win the mirror and have switch advantage. But what good is switch advantage if they have a Pokemon in the back that could counter both of mine? I need to bait it out. So that's why I bring in Lapras or Articuno. I bring in one of them every single time. I tend to bring in Lapras because it has better play against the Steel types, like Registeel, as you saw, it has pretty good play against it. Melmetal, a little bit tricky, but the opponent was kind of he played this very well. He built up for back-to-back, so I was actually forced to burn both shields if I wanted to win this. Definitely not the right plan. I don't recommend doing this. We did get the shield there, which is pretty much all I wanted in this situation. But yeah, building up for back-to-back and CMP tying with me was very smart on their part. So I bring back in Giratina here. Melmetal goes down. They bring in their own Giratina. So I'm going to throw Dragon Claw here. And I'm going to switch into Articuno. And they have a Swampert. So I need to get off this Icy Wind as soon as possible to lower the attack. Because this is actually a Shadow Swampert with a shield, this is a lot worse because these Hydro Cannons are still going to hurt. So this is not an optimal situation for us. And you can see Hydro Cannons really adding up. If this was a regular Swampert, we'd probably still win this game, but because it's Shadow with the shield, makes it very difficult. So he lets that go through. Giratina comes back in. I tried to switch out, but I actually fainted to Dragon Breath first. And he's going to hit us with Dragon Claw. At this point, I think my only win condition was either to build up for 2 Dragon Claws, which didn't seem like the case, so I figured I have to try and farm down. And you can see there, I did get to 2 Dragon Claws, but we fainted, so we lose that game. Ash520 LLL, who is a subscriber to the channel, so shout out to you. Bring out the Lapras. This time we bait out the Registeel. So we saw this plays out. You can choose to shield or let it go. This time I choose to let it go. Okay, so let's see how this plays out differently. So I'm going to throw a Surf here. Now, by not shielding the Focus Blast, they could go for Flash Cannon now, which requires less energy. So that is going to play a factor into whether or not I could get to another Surf and how low I could get this Registeel, right? So fortunately for us, we did get to the 3rd Surf before they were able to throw. So at this point, I don't necessarily have to shield anymore. I can let this go through. But I do choose to shield because I thought that I could probably get to Surf before he gets to another charge move and apply shield pressure for switch advantage. So I'm going to throw this Surf. They do choose to shield. And at this point, let's see if I'm going to shield again. No, I let it go through. And now the Registeel is in a low enough range where I could farm down. So this is literally what I want. I didn't want to get hit by Flash Cannon, so I chose to throw the Dragon Claw here. And now I'm expecting the Giratina to come back in. Bring in the Articuno. They have a Cresselia. So very common line that we see. Gonna throw the Icy Wind here. We do have a slight energy lead because we switched in first. It's likely gonna be a Moonblast here. Gonna shield the first one. And gonna throw the Icy Wind here. So this Cresselia is being debuffed. You can see Icy Wind does add up with the Ice Shard damage as well. This time they also have a Future Sight. Okay, so Future Sight's definitely going to hurt more than Moonblast, but it has been double debuffed, so it's not too bad. Another Icy Wind comes through. Looks like the opponent is saving their shield for the Giratina. Gonna get hit by one more move here. It's another Future Sight. And Giratina's gonna come back in, but this shouldn't KO, and I'll be able to get off this Icy Wind, which is basically all we needed here, because now in the mirror, we are going to have the advantage because our attack is not debuffed. Theirs is, so we're gonna be doing more damage here. And even though they have Dragon Breath, we're gonna be able to win this match because of that clutch Icy Wind debuff right before fainting. And you can see the switch timer is also coming up. So I'm gonna throw the Dragon Claw. Cresselia comes in, and we're able to feint to knock it down with quick moves. Giratina into Giratina again. Same thing, switch in Lapras. They bring in Gyarados. This is amazing for us, obviously. So a lot of times people don't have, if they don't have a counter for Lapras, there's not much they can really do, right? They bring in something that Lapras wins and we take control of switch advantage. We have Articuno after for the Giratina. Becomes a pretty straightforward match in those situations. So I'm going to throw the Surf here. And this Gyarados, at this point I think I'm going to use a shield, yep. Crunch comes through. Should be able to get to this Surf here. Let's see if the opponent's going to choose to shield. They do not, so we're able to farm down. Now they bring back in Giratina, so when they bring in Giratina, this kind of tells me they're probably very weak to Lapras. So I just throw the Surf here, didn't think I'd get to Ice Beam. Good call on their part to not shield. And and they're already in the yellow. Gonna bring in Articuno. I could tank whatever this is. And it seems like their team is really weak to ice. Especially because they're throwing their energy here. So let's see what the last Pokemon is. They have a lot of energy. These are crazy Dragon Claw spam right here. And we do get to the Icy Wind finally. Would have been nice if they got to a 4th one before we got to 1. It's gonna knock them out. They have a Clefable. So hitting the Icy Wind here is actually huge for us because I need to lower that attack. And we got the shield too. So you might be thinking here, this is still a pretty bad matchup for us. I just gotta shield this up. Meteor Mash. And I'm over farming like crazy because I want to throw back-to-back Shadow Sneaks. There's the first one. You can see it's doing a lot of damage. And after this second one, we should be able to basically win with a farm down. So GG's there. Metallic Element. Giratina into another Giratina. So again, should expect to see the same thing switch out into Lapras. This is the best case scenario that you switch out onto the charge move. That's excellent because you get rid of their energy. They bring in Scizor, and it looks like this Scizor is running Bullet Punch, so this isn't too optimal for us. Gonna throw the Surf here. And we get the shield, so that's pretty good. And looking to throw another Surf, but they beat us to the charge move. So I'm going to choose to shield this up. We would have survived that unfortunately, so didn't really have to shield. I'm going to throw the Surf. And let's see if I get to another one here. Ideally, you'd want to beat it, obviously, so you don't have to shield. Because if I could land that Surf, then I could just let the Lapras go down. But based on how it's playing out, we're going to have to go into a Shields War here. And they should beat us to the next move. Yep, CMP tie. Gonna knock us out, so they're gonna take control of Switch. And I'm gonna bring in Articuno here. So let's see what they're gonna have in the back. They bring in Giratina. So once again, you could see, a lot of times once you get rid of the first ice, a lot of people don't have a counter for the second one. And this pretty much tells me they probably have like a Togekiss or something that doesn't want to see Articuno in the back. So they bring out Snorlax. Okay, so I think what they were hoping to do by bringing in the Giratina there, maybe was that I would switch it to my Giratina. And look at this, I bring in my Giratina now, and you might be thinking I'm crazy here, but I have a plan. And basically, my idea here is that this Snorlax is debuffed. It most likely doesn't have Earthquake. Happens to have Earthquake, so that kind of went against my initial plan. But because the lick damage has actually been debuffed by the Articuno, I assumed I could probably win this. So I just have to throw this Dragon Claws. You can see Snorlax goes down, and the Giratina is going to come back in. I have energy, so I'm going to throw this Dragon Claw. And this actually is probably going to be enough to knock out the Giratina here. So opponent backs out, take that match. Next match is going to be against the Cresselia Lead. Okay, so like I said, Giratina actually has a pretty good matchup against Cresselia. If you want to use shields, you could win it. But the thing is, what happens if I lose the Giratina, I take out the Cresselia, but then they have a Steel type. Not good for us. So I bring in Lapras. A lot of these Cresselias are running Grass Knots, but I'm okay with that because Lapras could still take a Grass Knot. The main purpose here is not to win this match or anything. If they want to stay in, that's fine. The main purpose is just to see whether or not they have the Steel type. That's why I'm bringing it out. And when they're staying in the match, it kind of gives me the impression that the rest of their team might be weak to Lapras. So let's see how this plays out. Now, because he's not switched out, I chose to shield this because I figured he's probably very weak to Lapras in the back. So I chose to shield and have energy ready. And he brings in Registeel, so yeah, I guess he wants to stay in that match. But now I could throw these Surfs, so this isn't like too bad for us. It played out okay still. And they switch on to Zapdos, so I wanted to get off this Surf for sure. But this is not good for us because Articuno, yes, it's going to be doing a lot of damage to Zapdos, but it's also going to be taking a lot of damage. So here I was hoping he's trying to bait us first to get the shield. I was wrong. But you could see, even though we didn't hit a charge move, look how much damage we did to this Zapdos just from the ice shards. I could bring in the Giratina now, who could tank pretty much anything Zapdos throws pretty well. So it's a drill pack. Still does a lot of damage, which is pretty crazy. Just goes to show how powerful that Zapdos is. And Registeel comes in now. So I'm gonna throw the Shadow Sneaks here. We do get the shield. This is their last Pokemon. So I'm gonna have to shield a Flash Cannon at some point. May as well just do the first one. And it's pretty much a race at this point as to who's gonna have to charge moves first. And it's looking pretty good for us. I was considering sacking the Lapras here, but you have to make sure you time it. So Flash Cannon comes through. At this point I figured I'm probably gonna be able to get to the Shadow Sneak, and we should be able to take this match and farm down there. So that's a Cresselia Lead, Charizard Rider in the next match. I believe this is a Melmetal Lead. Yep. So Melmetal is basically Melmetal is very difficult if they have a second steal in the back. If they have that, there's pretty much nothing you could do. You're just gonna lose the match. But if they don't have a second steal, it becomes very playable. So in this match, you're gonna stay in because Giratina obviously is the only counter for Melmetal. And of course, you'd rather see the Melmetal in the lead than anywhere else on the team if they have one. So Rock Slide comes through here. Pretty straightforward, just go Shadow Sneak. With Shadow Claw, you should win this matchup every time. So we're going to hit by one more Rock Slide here. And I should get to a Dragon Claw. He actually switches out into Giratina. So I'm going to throw this Dragon Claw before switching out. And I'm going to switch out into Lapras here. And we're going to hit by a couple of Dragon Claws. This is totally fine. Actually, he has Ancient Power. That's right. This player runs Ancient Power on their Giratina. I faced him a couple times and it always surprises me, but he runs Ancient Power. I'm not sure what the second move is. Probably Dragon Claw, I'd assume. But you can see the Ancient Power is adding up here. But unless they get the boost, it's not going to make too much of a difference in this match. So Melmetal comes here. We have energy ready to go. Gonna throw the Surf that knocks out the Melmetal. They bring in Swampert. Gonna throw another Surf here because we farmed down that Giratina. And I know this Swampert can't farm us down, so I'm gonna force it to throw energy. Actually choose to shield because I figured I would get to the Surf. So this is pretty interesting. Now we get the last shield, or not the last. I actually brought in Giratina here thinking it had more health, so that was definitely a mistake on our part. Now I brought in the Lapras hoping it would throw. It does throw the energy. And now I'm gonna bring in Articuno here. And with this much of a health advantage, we should be good to go. I'm gonna shield this up. Don't even have to throw Icy in here to be honest, but I guess we may as well just to debuff it, even though it's not necessary. Because it can't really farm us down with much. I would have to win through Hydro Cannons. And at this point we could farm down with Ice Shard. And next match against K-Buzz, another subscriber to the channel, so shout out to you. Leading Charizard. Gonna switch into Togekiss, and we bring in the Lapras. So Charizard into Giratina, obviously it's a pretty good lead for us. So in this scenario, it's just pretty much aligning the matches here. And we could take whatever this is. It's an Ancient Power. And we could farm down here. So this is actually a very close match. But you can see we farm down with like 1 HP. And we have the Surf ready to throw. Should have Surf or Ice Beam ready. Gonna throw the Surf at this Charizard. And it's gonna get the shield. Not able to get to the second one, that's fine. And we're gonna bring in the Giratina here. So this is kind of funny because this opponent here, actually no, they don't have double counters, they just have one counter to Giratina. But they have 2 Pokemon weak to Ice. So the second Pokemon is a Giratina, which is the second Pokemon weak to Ice. So I mean we have 2 shields, may as well shield something because we need this Articuno obviously to win. So I shield that first Dragon Claw, it's going to do the most damage. Throw the Icy in here. And at this point, I'm just going to commit to a farm down so that I have a shield and energy ready for that Charizard in the back. So I'm not going to throw any more charge moves here. And the Charizard's going to come in and we're going to throw the icy one here, it's very low, so we're going to take this match. GG's to you though, K-Buzz. So a very long video, I know. Thank you to anybody who watched the whole thing, I really appreciate it. And that's pretty much the Ultra League team I've been using. Double Ice with Giratina Lead, and surprisingly very effective, as you can see through the video. It does play very well even against hard counters in the lead, and I personally think it's a really good team. Even on PvPoke, actually, I entered all 3 Pokemon, it's almost all A's. Surprisingly very effective team, and if you guys have any questions about the team or any scenarios how they play out, let me know in the comments, I'll be happy to answer them. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, commenting, subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.